He stood at the altar
I
with
won't be
cameras
going
rolling
through with this
and
wedding.
ended the wedding in one sentence. No warning, no mercy. Everyone waited for her to break. She smiled, because weeks earlier, he made one mistake. He rushed her to sign papers he never read. What looked like public humiliation was actually a transfer of power. And the moment he realized it, it was already too late. But what did she set in motion that night? And why did his empire start collapsing before the doors even closed? Welcome, my beautiful family and friends, to my YouTube channel. Please click on subscribe, like, share, and let me know in the comments where you're watching from. Now back to the story. The church is packed long before the bells begin to ring. Not just packed, curated. Every seat holds someone important. CEOs, politicians, board members, media figures pretending they're family friends. The kind of crowd where every smile is measured and every handshake has a second meaning. Crystal chandeliers glow overhead, scattering light like diamonds across marble floors polished to perfection. White roses line the aisle, flown in overnight because local florists weren't exclusive enough. Outside, black cars idle in a perfect row. Inside, cameras are already live. Money hangs in the air like perfume. Expensive, suffocating, impossible to ignore. To the world, this is a fairy tale. The billionaire groom, the stunning bride, the wedding everyone will talk about for years. But fairy tales don't make your chest tighten like this. The bride stands just beyond the doors, her veil resting lightly against her shoulders. The dress fits her flawlessly, custom, hand-stitched, absurdly expensive. It should feel like armor. It should make her feel safe. It doesn't. Her hands are steady, but her mind is not, because she feels it, not fear exactly. Something sharper, something colder, danger. It crept in weeks ago, quietly, the way real danger always does. It started with the prenup. At first, it was framed as a formality, a standard procedure. His lawyers were polite, smiling, over-accommodating. They told her it was only to protect assets he built long before he met her. Nothing unusual, nothing personal. She believed them, until the changes began. Small at first, a clause added here, a paragraph revised there. Each time, they told her it was minor. Each time, they rushed her to sign before the next meeting, the next trip, the next public appearance. Then one night, she noticed something that wouldn't let her sleep. Her lawyer didn't return her call. Not that night, not the next morning, not the day after. But when she casually mentioned it to her fiancé, laughing, pretending it didn't bother her, he said almost too quickly, "Oh, I spoke to him yesterday." Yesterday, the same lawyer who couldn't find 30 seconds to reassure her had time for him. That was the first crack in the glass. After that, the silence grew louder. Emails unanswered, meetings postponed, documents delivered late, or not at all. And every time she asked questions, she was met with the same response. A smile, a kiss on the forehead, a soft laugh. "You're overthinking." He said it gently, almost lovingly, but it landed like a warning. Now, standing outside the church, she remembers all of it at once. The way his hand used to linger on her back, now gone. The way conversations stopped when she entered the room. The way his assistants suddenly treated her like an inconvenience instead of the future wife of their boss. Something is wrong. Inside the church, music swells. Guests rise to their feet. The doors begin to open. The bride inhales slowly and steps forward. Every head turns. Cameras zoom in, hungry for tears, smiles, perfection. She gives them what they expect. Grace, poise, beauty. But beneath the veil, her eyes search for his. He's waiting at the altar, tall, composed, flawless in a tailored suit that probably costs more than most people's houses. He looks every bit the billionaire the world reveres, confident, untouchable, in control. He smiles when he sees her. The cameras eat it up, but she notices what no one else does. His eyes never soften. They don't warm. They don't reach her. They flick past her instead, toward the guests, the press, the spectacle, as if she's already fading into the background of a success story. She keeps walking, step by step. The aisle feels longer than it should. Each footfall echoes like a countdown. Behind the scenes, while music plays and guests hold their breath, things are already moving. Documents signed days ago are being activated. Accounts adjusted. Triggers set. A plan tightens its grip. The groom believes this moment belongs to him. He believes the power is his because the spotlight is on him. Because the room is full of witnesses. Because humiliation, when delivered publicly, feels final. He believes she is walking toward the end of her worth. What he doesn't understand is that fear doesn't always mean weakness. Sometimes it means clarity. Weeks ago, long before the dress fittings and rehearsal dinners, she stopped crying in private. She stopped asking him to explain. She stopped trying to be reassured. And she started listening. She noticed how often the word temporary appeared in documents. How often assets moved for convenience. How often she was asked to sign things quickly without copies. So she made a decision. She didn't confront him. She didn't accuse him. She didn't warn him. She called someone else. A second lawyer. Then a third. Then a forensic accountant who didn't care about his reputation or his name. And quietly, without drama, she made move one. It wasn't flashy. It wasn't emotional. It wasn't revenge. It was legal. She requested revisions under the guise of trust. She asked for protections framed as fairness. She insisted on clauses that sounded harmless, almost generous. And because he didn't see her as a threat, he agreed. He signed every single page. Now, standing at the altar, she watches him smile for the cameras, convinced this is the moment he will control the narrative forever. He thinks she's nervous. He thinks the tightness in her posture is fear. He thinks her silence is submission. That's his mistake. Because the lie in the light, the illusion everyone is applauding, is built on one fatal misunderstanding. He believes power only flows one way. And if you've ever watched powerful people abuse trust, if you've ever seen someone use money, influence, or status to corner another human being, pause here. If you believe wealth shouldn't excuse cruelty, hit subscribe. This channel doesn't protect bullies. The officiant clears his throat. The music fades. The moment approaches, the question that will decide everything. The groom straightens his shoulders, certain of himself. He believes the altar is where he ends her. He doesn't know. It's where his trap closes. The question hangs in the air like a blade. The officiant's voice is calm, rehearsed, steady, trained to carry people through moments that feel sacred. Do you take? He never finishes. The groom moves first. One step back. A hand raised. Not in hesitation, but in command. The music dies mid-note. A ripple of confusion spreads through the church as heads turn, whispers stirring like static. The officiant falters, unsure whether this is nerves, drama, or a billionaire deciding the script has changed. The groom doesn't look at the bride. He reaches for the microphone. That's when the room understands this isn't a pause. This is a performance. The microphone clicks on, and his voice fills the cathedral. Cool, controlled, amplified. I won't be going through with this wedding. One sentence. No explanation. No apology. No hesitation. Just a clean, surgical ending delivered in front of everyone who matters. The silence afterward is violent. Gasps burst from the pews. A woman near the front covers her mouth. Somewhere, a glass shatters as a trembling hand drops it. Cameras snap to life. Lenses zooming in, hunting for tears, shock, collapse. This is what they came for. Public humiliation packaged as entertainment. The groom stands tall, shoulders squared, expression unreadable. To anyone watching closely, there's something almost triumphant in his stillness, like a man who believes he has just proven his power. He doesn't glance at the bride because he doesn't need to. He already knows what he expects to see. Shock, panic, a woman unraveling. He expects sobs. He expects pleading. He expects the kind of emotional collapse that makes headlines cruel and unforgettable. What he doesn't expect is her smile. Not a forced one, not a cracked one, a calm smile. It starts slowly, the corners of her mouth lifting just enough to register on camera. Her shoulders remain relaxed. Her breathing stays even. If anything, she looks lighter, confident. The front row notices first, then the cameras. The zoom tightens, confusion replacing anticipation. This is not the reaction they were promised. The groom finally turns to her. For the first time since she stepped into the church, he really looks at her, and something flickers in his eyes. Because this is not the face of a woman being discarded. This is the face of a woman who saw this coming. Her smile deepens just a fraction. Because this is move 4. Weeks ago, when he rushed documents across glass conference tables and told her, "We just need to sign quickly," she didn't argue. She didn't slow him down. She smiled then, too. She asked thoughtful questions, just enough to seem cooperative. She nodded when his lawyers reassured her. She initialed where they told her to initial. And when she requested minor revisions, they barely skimmed them. Because why would they? She was the bride. She was emotional. She was irrelevant to the real power. They never noticed the language shift. The word temporary softened into something permanent. The contingency quietly gained teeth. The emergency clause, buried deep, disguised as protection, waited patiently. And now, standing at the altar, with cameras broadcasting live and humiliation echoing through marble walls, that clause awakens. The groom clears his throat, uncomfortable with the silence. He expects her to speak, to protest, to beg. She does neither. Instead, she lifts her chin and meets his gaze fully. The room holds its breath. He leans toward the microphone again, clearly intending to add something, perhaps a justification, perhaps a final blow. Before he can speak, his phone vibrates in his pocket. Once, then again. He ignores it. Powerful men don't get distracted by phones in moments like this. But the third vibration is longer, insistent. His jaw tightens. The bride watches him with quiet interest now, her smile unchanged. Behind the scenes, what he set in motion weeks ago is completing its arc. The temporary asset transfer he orchestrated to sideline her, locked in. The legal control he assumed would revert to him after today, frozen. The clause that activates upon public reputational harm inflicted by a primary party, triggered, automatically, irreversibly. The groom finally glances down at his phone. His color changes, just slightly but enough. A message from his legal counsel lights up the screen. "Call me. Now." Another follows. Then another from finance. Then one more from a number he doesn't recognize. He swallows. The bride notices. So does the front row. A murmur ripples through the pews, confusion turning into curiosity. The narrative is slipping from his hands, and he feels it like sand draining through clenched fingers. He forces a smile, trying to regain control. "This is over," he says again, louder this time, as if volume can restore authority. "Let's be clear." Clear. The word lands wrong, because clarity is exactly what this moment delivers. The officiant shifts uncomfortably. The cameras remain trained on the bride, waiting for her to react. She does, but not how anyone expects. She reaches out, not toward him, but toward the microphone stand. Gently, deliberately. The groom stiffens. For a split second, instinct tells him to stop her, to pull the mic away, to reassert dominance. But it's too late. Her fingers close around the stand, steady as stone. She doesn't rush. She doesn't glare. She doesn't raise her voice. She simply looks out at the crowd, the witnesses he thought would seal her humiliation. Her voice is calm when she speaks. "Thank you all for being here." The room freezes again. This time, the shock is deeper. She turns slightly, addressing the groom without fully facing him, denying him the satisfaction of her full attention. "And thank you," she adds, softly, "for showing everyone who you are." The words aren't sharp. They don't need to be. They land anyway. A few guests exchange glances. The cameras capture everything. The groom's tightening jaw, the bride's composure, the power shift happening in real time. He opens his mouth to interrupt her. Another vibration. This time, he can't ignore it. His phone buzzes relentlessly now like an alarm. The bride steps back from the microphone, relinquishing it easily, as if she no longer needs it. She turns and walks down the aisle. Not fast, not dramatic, measured. Each step echoes louder than the last. The guests part instinctively, unsure whether to applaud, comfort, or simply stare. Some rise to their feet without realizing it. The cameras follow her until the doors close behind her. Only then does the room exhale. The groom stands alone at the altar. His moment, the one he planned, rehearsed, fantasized about, has slipped through his hands. He looks down at his phone again. This time, he answers. The color drains from his face as he listens. Yes, he says sharply. I know. A pause. What do you mean it's locked? Another pause, longer this time. His grip tightens around a microphone. No, he snaps. That's not possible. But it is. Because what he thought was domination, was documentation, paperwork, clauses, signatures, all the boring things powerful men underestimate until they turn lethal. The room watches him unravel quietly, dignity cracking under the weight of realization. He lowers the microphone slowly, the plastic clinking softly against the stand. And for the first time since this wedding began, he understands. The ceremony didn't end. It transferred power. And if you hate watching manipulators believe they're untouchable, comment no more lies if you don't side with people who destroy others for ego. As the groom lowers the microphone, he realizes the altar was never the ending. It was the handover. The room is still reeling when she returns to the microphone. Not rushing, not trembling. The groom hasn't noticed her step forward at first. He's too busy staring at his phone, scrolling through messages that don't make sense yet. Alerts, missed calls, legal jargon collapsing into something terrifyingly real. The officiant steps aside instinctively. The microphone is waiting. She touches it once. Just once. That simple movement, calm, deliberate, cuts through the chaos better than shouting ever could. The whispers fade. The cameras refocus. The entire church leans in. This is the moment everyone expects a reckoning. They expect rage. They expect exposure. They expect her to burn him down in public. She does none of that. She lifts her eyes and looks out at the guests, the people who came expecting spectacle, privilege, perfection. The people who watched a man try to end a woman's dignity in one sentence. Her voice is steady. Thank you, she says. The word lands wrong. Unexpected. Disarming. Thank you all for coming today. A pause. She turns slightly, letting her gaze brush past the press section, the cameras, the reporters who were seconds away from packaging her humiliation as entertainment. And thank you to the media, she continues, for being here to witness honesty. A few heads tilt. This isn't the script. Finally, she turns to him, not with anger, not with hatred, with clarity. And thank you, she says softly, for showing everyone exactly who you are. That's it. No details, no accusations, no numbers, just truth. She steps back from the microphone and walks away, not fast enough to seem shaken, not slow enough to seem theatrical, just finished. The doors close behind her again. This time, they do not reopen. The church erupts, not with applause, but with confusion. Conversations ignite everywhere at once. Phones come out. People whisper names, theories, speculation. The groom is left standing where he believed victory would taste sweetest. Alone, he tries to speak. Nothing comes out. He looks down at his phone again, as if staring harder might change the messages stacking up like a verdict. Board members, bank executives, legal counsel. We need to talk. Immediately. What did you sign? By nightfall, the illusion collapses. The board doesn't wait. They never do. Emergency meetings are called. Quiet at first, then frantic. Questions turn into accusations. The word exposure is used more than once. So is liability. Banks freeze accounts pending review. A phrase that sounds temporary until it isn't. Transactions stall. Transfers fail. Credit lines pause mid-motion like a heart skipping beats. Headlines begin to change tone. Not glowing profiles. Not wedding features. Investigations. Scrutiny. Patterns. Reporters dig. Not into her, but into him. Past settlements resurface. Quiet payouts. NDAs that suddenly feel less secure. By midnight, the man who believed money insulated him from consequences can't sleep. By morning, his empire is shaking. And her? She disappears. No interviews. No statements. No victory tour. Her phone goes dark. Not because she's hiding, but because she no longer needs to explain herself to anyone. Weeks pass, then months. The groom's name stops appearing next to words like visionary and mogul. It starts appearing next to words like inquiry, lawsuit, and allegations. Former partners distance themselves. Former allies turn cautious. Some turn helpful to investigators. The silence around him grows heavy. Not the powerful kind, the exposing kind. And somewhere far from the cameras, she reappears, not in headlines, but in action. Quiet funding, careful planning. She opens doors for women who were told to stay quiet, who were pressured into signing away their voices, who were convinced power meant inevitability. Legal aid, advocacy, protection, not flashy, effective. The irony isn't lost on her. He wanted to discard her publicly. Instead, he taught her exactly where to strike. Not at his ego, not at his image, at the systems that protected him. The clauses, the boards, the silence. Months later, when his lawyers fight investigations and his wealth bleeds through legal fees, she's nowhere near him. She doesn't watch. She doesn't gloat. She's already moved on. Because checkmate doesn't require noise. It requires precision. And if you believe accountability should be louder than money, like this video and share it, because silence only protects people like him. Comment, I stand for justice, if you're not siding with the man who thought power meant immunity. Thank you for watching this story to the end. Please click subscribe, like, and share this video. Click on the screen to watch the next one.